So, hey everyone, welcome to our general member and leadership panel. I see all the panelists are here. Thank you for coming. And I see the rest of you are also here. So, I hope this is helpful to you guys. And yeah. So, how this is going to go is we're starting off with like introduction. So, all the panelists will be introducing themselves. Then we will go on to the panel questions. And after that, we'll just have a bit of Q&A. So if you guys do have any questions, then you can feel free. We'll be using the platform Slido, so you can just submit your questions on there. And we'll be asking those questions to the panelists. And then we'll just have a bit of a wrap up. So starting off with the introductions, if each panelist doesn't mind turning on their microphone and saying their name, their major, why they joined Enactus, what initiative or project or position they're in, and why did they join that project, position, or initiative. Yeah.
So I'm assuming I'm going first.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm Nidhi. I'm a senior, majoring in criminal justice, minoring in public policy and business admin. What was else? What else? Why I joined? I'm PL for PADS, period awareness, sustainability and development and sustainability. Finally know what that means. And I joined PADS because it's a topic that I'm really passionate about, period poverty and raising awareness about this issue. Like it's something that is very not underrated, but not many people know about it or talk about it or realize the impact that this has on many people around the world. So I was something that I was really passionate about. That's why I joined PADS. And did you say something else or that's it? Right.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Oh, okay, I guess we're going down and then to the right column. All right, so hey, my name is Lydia. I'm currently the director of projects. I guess previously I was the director of R&D, and I used to be in this cool project that was too cool to exist anymore, called Yes, which was consulting for a local nonprofit, and I was the finance lead there. I'm a senior majoring in accounting, bait with a French minor because I don't like to sleep. And reason I joined Enactus in this position, Enactus, I was getting bogged down by the RBS corporate machine, and I wanted to do something good with business. So this seemed ideal. And then director of projects, I wanted to invest my entire life in my firstborn child to Enactus. So I joined as DOP, and also I really liked being with projects and working with a bunch of beautiful people, which I luckily get to do. So yeah.
Alrighty. Well, my name is Matan Dubnikov. I'm a sophomore majoring in Ag and Food Systems. So screw all you RBS people. SEBS is by far the coolest school because I don't have to worry about any business classes. Exactly. But I joined Enactus because I wanted to diversify some of my college experience and I wanted to put what I learned to the test. And so pretty much exactly a year ago, I kicked off Project Appalachia, which if you don't know what Project Appalachia is the taking of regenerative agriculture and all of the perks and quirks associated with it to the foothills of Appalachia, which is smack in the middle of the mid-Atlantic. And I am currently the project manager there. And one fun fact about me is that I play guitar, I play bass guitar, I play cello, and I sing in the shower.
All right, I'll go next. So hi everyone, I'm Kiran. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in environmental and business economics, also in the SEBS. And what else? Oh, so in Enactus, I'm currently an external member for Project Appalachia, and I'm also part of the competition committee. In the competition committee, I'm part of the annual report team, and I'm also a presenter for the competition this April. And what else? Fun fact. I'm an international student from India. I mean, you guys know that, but and it's 8:15 a.m. here, and I haven't slept yet.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tolu. I'm from the School of Arts and Sciences. I'm a cell biology and neuroscience major, and I am a project lead for education, which is our project name is called Collab Learning. We're kind of looking to help students stay motivated throughout like online learning and as well as create a learning platform for in-class instruction as well. So we're kind of doing various of different things such as recruitment and testing out our platform on different mediums. So it's like going a bit slow, but we're really excited about, what's going to be going on in the future. So, yeah.
Sweet, and I shall follow up on everyone on this panel. My name is Paolo. I am a third year majoring in marketing, so RBS for the win. Save the best for last. I joined Enactus. I'm part of the RCAAS, Rutgers Center for Adult Autism Services. I'm part of the committee with Neha, and I'm also a part of the Membership Development Committee. We do some of the MIT slides. We do some of the leadership and bonding slides over here. And I joined Enactus because I, love service. So social entrepreneurship was kind of right up my alley. And a fun fact about me is that I've been working on my handstands lately, and I recently just filmed a video of myself doing it for 4 seconds. So I've been doing it for 4 months. So it's 1 second for each month.
Wow, thank you guys. Love them fun facts. Okay, so we will now be starting off with the panel questions. So we'll first be discussing a bit more surrounding like involvement, especially like within Enactus and within projects. So first question, again, open to everyone in the panel. How do you effectively communicate with your team?
I can kick that off. So Project Appalachia got its start right as the coronavirus pandemic was kicking speed. I think we maybe got 2 or 3 meetings in before we got sent home, and the rest was history. So just upon getting started as an official project, we had to learn very fast that communication is the backbone of a successful project, and I can attest to that to this day. It's especially difficult when you can't see each other in person and you constantly have shuffling members. So the value that you get from interacting face to face often isn't there. And so you have to make up for that. And how do you make up for that? You make up for that by encouraging excellent communication with your peers. Rather than just, inciting and instilling that communication has to happen, you incentivize it. Make it passionate for people to want to participate, to want to stay connected, to feel like they're part of something beyond just an extracurricular. And so by cultivating that passion, you ensure that communication is relevant and it doesn't break. And especially given that we're now a year later and have gone so very far, I can almost 100% attest to that being the first and foremost solution to communication.
I definitely agree with that. Tolu, it seems like you also want to say something on that.
Yeah. I think it's just about being approachable. And I guess it depends on the type of communication tools that you use. I think there is a lot. I just found texting to be a really easy way to communicate and get quicker responses rather than Slack sometimes. Not saying Slack doesn't work, but I think when you have someone's phone number, it's easier to get people's information. And then it's kind of depending what you're communicating. Sometimes it's better to delegate what you need to communicate. So if you can pass along some thing to have someone else communicate for them. It kind of makes you more organized in the way that you present things, because if you present everything by yourself, it kind of can get overwhelming and you can definitely forget what to do. So I think it's important to like know your team very well and for them to know each other so that they can communicate with other members as well. And then as well as creating like a Google sheet to kind of keep everyone's contact, like email and phone number. And I found that to be really helpful in sending emails and things like that.
I definitely agree with that. There are a lot of different ways that people can use to communicate with tools. Personally, for me, I also send messages, I email, and I do Slack. So that's a lot of good advice. Kieran, do you also want to speak on this?
Yes, real quick. I just want to add to like what both of them already said. So as like I'm kind of a new member, right? I just joined last semester, but one thing like as a relatively new member is that I understood that, you know, asking questions, even if you feel like, you know, the question is kind of irrelevant or, you know, just clarifying things, whatever. So in things like that, really don't, you know, hesitate. Just like take your phone, send them a text right away, because it's really been difficult for me also, like living in a different time zone and everything. Like it's been blurry at times, like, oh, did I miss something? Did I, you know, should I ask them this? All those questions, like really just like don't hesitate to ask people, because everyone's been really helpful and resourceful so far.
Definitely, you should never be scared to ask questions, especially since we're a community who helps each other out. That's a really great point. Nidhi, do you also want to say something?
Yeah, it's kind of just echoing what everyone else was. It's a combination, like how Tolu said, it depends on your project and like your group of people. For us, Slack works, and it's fun. And I think it's like it started the same thing situation as Appalachia, is like we started right when the pandemic hit. So, you know, virtually and staying connected and doing things like bonding or I think those kinds of things is like the foundation of good communication, is if you have good relationships with people and you're able to connect. So, you know, like just doing like fun activities in the beginning of our meetings, or trying to meet up sometimes outside of that, or having a separate like a chat where we can just put random funny things or whatnot. That helps. And then it kind of just makes communication even easier, just because, you know, you have that connection with someone. So
All right. Yeah, so I have to unfortunately like communicate with 30 plus people within my team. So in Enactus, we really like to like slide in with the when to meets. And I think that's really good because then you get a time set that everybody's kind of held accountable to. You can mark it on Google Calendar and they'll make a hangout for you, and then everybody will ask you where the Zoom is, and it's a great process overall. So definitely, even if you're like trying to reach out to people just to like ask questions about anything, just slide in with a when to meet.
Thank you for that, Lydia. Definitely something that we should utilize more. So I will go now on to the next question, which was, what was your experience like joining diverse committees? Like, how was the transition into a new committee and team? So I know some of you have joined like different committees, like Kieran, you've joined competition, and Pal, you're on the membership development committees. And also, Tolu, you were also on the competition committee.
Yeah, I can kind of open this up with my experience in MemDev. MemDev. So I joined Enactus of spring 2020, and it was kind of when, you know, everything hit. I mean, everyone obviously remembers. So I unfortunately didn't get to experience the full Enactus experience that I was hearing a lot of, you know, individuals within the community talk about. So I kind of thought of membership development committee as like my opportunity to see the kind of back end logistics, and also kind of just see what, you know, this organizational culture was like. And I think as I was entering, you know, the committee, I was kind of nervous, you know, being one of the more newer members on the team. But I found it to be really inclusive, really inviting, and like really open to like previous like other panelists have been saying, like open to my questions, open to my inquiries, because there were some terms and some, you know, some lingo that I didn't necessarily know. But over time, I found that things kind of smoothed out, and now I'm here, still happy working with Critfee and seeing what MemDev has for this semester.
Go MemDev, plugging that in there. Tolu, Kieran, do you want to also talk about your experience?
Yeah. So I was in competition committee last year. And it was, I don't know, like, because it was different for me because like the project I was working on, it was really hard to find members and stuff like that. So I focused more on competition committee, and I think it was like a really interesting aspect of teamwork because you know you're meeting new people for the first time, and like it's not like it's like a graded thing, like in terms of okay, you're doing it for the basis of your class, but you're doing it on the basis of doing, you're representing the organization and what you're doing. So it's a really important thing to want to do well. So I think it was a really good experience, and I think like the idea of hanging out one time in the semester, I think we went to get Chinese food before the pandemic came to the US. And, it was really nice to hang out and talk with people that, I wouldn't talk to them outside of working on the project, but it was nice to communicate, outside of the project as well. So it was nice.
I'm glad you had the chance to interact with other people outside of projects. It's also really one thing why I really like joining committees, that you really get to know more people in Enactus. I think Kieran, you also wanted to talk.
Sure. So I mean, with like Project Appalachia, so I joined that project because it deals with regenerative agriculture and like reforming a whole area, right? And so I have lived on a farm my whole life, and so it was just relatable, and so I was like, sure. And it actually is, in fact, it feels very close to home, even though it's literally like the farthest possible from home. But that, and then of course, like the people in Project Appalachia, like I feel like we match together really well during our meetings, and like it's a comfortable place to talk, give suggestions, and all of that. So I feel like that's really good, and I also think that it's really easy to um, make use of a lot of opportunities here, because like I auditioned for the competition committee. I was like, sure, why not? And then I got in, and like the same thing with the presenter role and all of that. So I think if you really jump at opportunities that interest you here, they will definitely pay off.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you. You have to go for like the opportunities. And I'm glad you found kind of like a home within Project Appalachia. Okay, so we will be going on to the next question, which is, as a general member, how do you take on more leadership responsibilities in a project?
Ooh, okay. I'll go through this because I had a whole event on this. But yeah, I think when I was a general member, what I tried to do was just participate. And as your general member, you're learning more and more about the project, and you haven't kind of been corrupted by Enactus ideology yet. So you can bring like a whole new perspective to it that your leaders might not see. So I would just recommend suggesting a lot of ideas. Maybe, they won't be the best ideas, but, your PL will be able to kind of like guide you and explain. And just having that initiative, I think, really shows that you're you know, have those leadership qualities. And, you know, maybe you'll end up leading an initiative within your committee, but also, you know, just being active in general, going to events, volunteering for things, and, you know, joining committees is also like a great way to get a lot of leadership experience, because as Kritvi can probably attest to, a lot of her members are like, you know, pitching ideas and working on things and kind of taking initiative within her committee too.
Yeah, like Lydia said, a lot of the newest members, as soon as they come to Enactus, like they just have a new perspective and they have some really great ideas. I'm like surprised by half the ideas I hear most of the time. Does anyone else want to speak on this?
Yes, I will also speak on this a little bit because I am a relatively like new member. Obviously, I only joined last semester, but I've been able to gain a lot of opportunities and a lot of experiences and a lot of different committees and events, and I've been able to take part in them and gain that experience through kind of like networking within Enactus. I'm kind of a firm believer of like no question is dumb, and that I think that anytime something interests you, anytime you have a question, if there's something you want to learn about, if there's something that piques your interest, you should strive to like learn more about it and talk about it with the people around you and kind of like the presidents of like a committee or something, which is oftentimes what I did. So I did a similar thing with like R&D. I was super interested in R&D, and I'm lucky enough to be close with Lydia, Kritvi, and Amy, and they're all like amazing directors of the committees that they're a part of. And I was super interested in it, and I was able to host one of like the brainstorming events on like the 13th. Come out to that, you guys. There's an R&D brainstorming event. And it's a really nice experience because when you reach out to people for things that you're interested in, there's so many opportunities, and you should take a hold of every opportunity you can. And a lot of people believe that being a new member, there's not a lot you can do. You kind of just hold back. You kind of get a feel for the club. But I don't think that's true, because in Enactus especially, your lack of experience is not applicable to anything. Like you can be not, you don't know, you don't have to have had like a leadership position before, but you can still apply, you can still try, and getting that experience is really important. So it's like what I did first semester. I applied to be PL for our CAS, and I got the position. So now I'm PL, and now I'm part of MEMDev, and I'm kind of giving like a bunch of new ideas and stuff. So it's honestly really easy to get involved when you try to get involved in things that do pique your interest, and when you don't hold yourself back when opportunities present themselves. So no one think that their lack of experience means you can't have an e-board position or a leadership role. If you set your mind to it and you go to events and you network and you do what you're interested in, you can honestly do whatever you want within Enactus, as long as you have good ideas.
I definitely though agree. You should be like taking on opportunities that you are especially passionate about, because I think that's definitely what takes you far in Enactus. Okay. Okay. Speaking on, we'll head on to the next question, which Neha will be taking talking about. So I'll let her lead that. These questions are regarding mostly about leadership.
Okay, so this upcoming question is, how did you learn more about the leadership roles you were interested in and get hands-on experience within those roles? If anyone wants to take this up first, feel free.
I can talk about that. So, how did I learn about them? Usually they talk about the opportunities that that they have during meetings. So if you just, attend meetings, you pay attention, you ask questions, you like keep your ears open basically, figure out what's going on, and if there's any new initiatives you see that are taking place, always, look into that. That's kind of how I ended up applying to PADS, because I was a general member in two projects before that, and I hadn't had a leadership role yet. So that's kind of mostly what I did. And to get hands-on experience, I also shadowed e-board members when I was, I think, a sophomore. And like I would just pay attention also to the previous projects I had been a part of. I would pay attention to my PL and PMs there. Kind of just ask them questions about how did they prepare for this meeting, or how did they prepare this deliverable? Like ask them questions about the deliverable itself. How is it relevant to, the project, any questions I would have. So like the kind of theme that we've been echoing, there's no dumb questions. And everybody in Actus is amazing. People are amazing. So literally just go and ask anyone anything and they'll help you out. So
There's actually also a comment that I wanted to make for that. You guys should really pay attention during the things that are pointed out during GM and our Slack and stuff like that, because oftentimes a lot of great opportunities are put in there, and it sometimes people don't check Slack as often. They have their notifications off, and it really sucks because there are some amazing leadership opportunities you can apply for and a lot of experience that you could get by simply looking at these messages. This is like how I applied for my current PL position too. You know, I saw it, I was like, oh, I love RCIS, that's really cool, let me apply. I'm like, look where I am now. And as for hands-on experience, I strongly recommend that if there is something that interests you within R&D or leadership, you reach out to like director of projects, director of R&D, like Lydia and Amy, because they oftentimes will reach out to you and give you opportunities where you can get hands-on experience, especially if you're interested in the role. Like that's what I did with Amy because I wanted to learn more about director of research and development, and so I got this opportunity for the upcoming brainstorming event. And they give you great opportunities to shadow and learn more about their position. So you should really reach out to the people like PLs, PMs, and directors. If anyone else wants to tune in for that question.
Yeah, I'd be happy to hop in. My experience as a project manager is arguably not the cookie cutter Enactus experience. I became a project manager as a freshman right out of MIT. So I spent a few weeks in R&D, managed to get my the idea together for Project Appalachia, began developing it, and assumed the role of project manager, and that's where I started. So I didn't have the opportunity to shadow other project leads or project managers, nor be a general member of any project. So a lot of what I learned was really on the spot, and that gave me quite a unique experience. It was not bad by any means. So don't get deterred by assuming a leadership position early on. And I'm very happy that I did, because it teaches you a number of lessons. The first thing is that really seniority is irrelevant when you're working in a team. Mutual respect is one thing, but when you see everybody on the same playing field and everybody recognizes that you're on the same playing field, you establish a dynamic that can get things done, and you can get a lot of things done. So I was working with people who were 2 years older than me and spent the same amount of time in Enactus. And I'm fresh off the boat. And together, we managed to cultivate an environment and begin to build up the foundations for a project that today is very, very successful and has its gears going full speed. The second thing that you learn from assuming a leadership position is to think on the spot. So whether you jump right into leadership like myself, or you work your way up, when you are beginning to make decisions that impact the direction in which a project goes, and in which efforts you want to focus on, suddenly you need to take into account what's right, what's wrong, what's the right direction, what's the wrong direction, and not to second guess yourself. So to develop that wit, that instinct, is crucial to working your way and learning to be a true leader. And worst comes to worst, if you take a wrong turn, you can always work your way back. That's the beauty of Enactus. And the last thing that I want to add is, tying back to the first thing, is you learn about respect. I see every one of the members in Project Appalachia, from the project leads to the general members themselves, to the newbies, to the people that are leaving, on the same playing field. In meetings, we all address each other the same way. It's an open discussion platform, so it's not just project leads dictating to general members what's going on, but more along the lines of opening discussion and having an open floor for general members to express their thoughts on which direction the project should go, and whether or not they have concerns with what we're doing, or if they have any ideas for where the project should go. That builds up really a network that is beyond any hierarchical structure that you could establish in any scenario. The second you demonstrate to others that you're willing to listen and that you are listening, you show compassion, and you try and resonate passion amongst your peers, it becomes a whole different ballgame, and it makes you feel safe as a leader, but it also gives you the motivation to keep pursuing new directions, not to play conservative and to learn to take risks.
Yeah, I would even say, if you want to get leadership roles and get more hands-on experience, just expressing that is really good. Because your PLs, PMs, and like me, like if we know you want like leadership, when leadership comes out, I might slide into your DMs. I'm sure Matan can attest to you that I do in fact slide into your DMs to try to get you to apply to things. And just going out of your way to be an active member. I think a lot of people recognize all the work you guys are putting in, even though at times things can get hectic. But that's definitely taken into consideration when we're trying to encourage people to apply.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question then, unless anyone wants to chime in for any last comments. Okay. Our next question is, what made you want to apply for a leadership position despite the clear time commitment that some of them would hold? Anyone like to take on this first?
Okay, I guess I'll go. So I think like the time commitment, I think is exaggerated in a bit. I remember being a general member and I would like sit in the lounge and do all my Electus work. And the thing is, it's not necessarily more work, maybe like a few more hours a week. But you get more flexibility with what you do, and you get to like strategize and have more initiative and get to be more creative. So I think like even though it might be slightly more than I was doing as a general member, the work I get to do, I enjoy a lot more because I get to have more input on everything, and I get to be more involved in what I want to do, and I have more flexibility to shape my role instead of being a general member, especially in a client project where I was kind of like looking at other people for the plan.
Some wonderful advice from Lydia. Matan, Nidhi, is there anything you guys want to throw in there?
Yeah. In addition to what Lydia said, it's also like just the whole communication thing that we kind of love to talk about here is that any concerns that you may have about like regarding the time commitment, that's that's very valid, but talking to different project leaders and managers and e-board and the directors, like they'll help assure you that that you can do it, and they give you great advice on as to like how to deal with it, how to make that transition from general member to the leadership position. And that definitely was helpful to me. I remember Lydia definitely helped me specifically with that. So that's what I would say. Mostly with the time commitment issue, that's what helped me get through it.
I'll hop in for a statement following that. So I think, personally to me, the biggest factor in weighing, the commitment of being, of fulfilling a leadership role is whether or not you are emotionally invested in what you're doing. If you join an Enactus initiative and maybe you see it as an extracurricular, you want it as a resume booster, and suddenly a leadership position comes to you, suddenly that begins to feel like another weight in your backpack. Whereas if you decide to join something that you're passionate about or cultivate your own path, it doesn't matter the time commitment. The second it becomes ingrained as part of your emotional being, something that you are invested in as a person, whatever time costs come with being a leader, whether that be a project leader or a project manager, it's absolutely irrelevant. I can tell you from experience. I can spend hours upon hours reviewing stuff for Project Appalachia and working through, reading fine text and MOUs, and I still love it just because of how ingrained I am with the project and how much I want to see Project Appalachia succeed and soar through heights. So for those who do want to pursue a leadership position, I think without a doubt, and being extremely raw here, the first and foremost thing that you should check is to see if you're really invested and you're really passionate about what you're the initiative that you're applying to. If you are, then you're clear to go. If not, then maybe begin to assess other things and really begin to weigh that out. But once you nail that emotional connection, really time is irrelevant.
There's a quick comment I want to make jumping off of that, because I feel like I've had a similar experience with my PL position, because I know that at least at the beginning of my PL position, it was a little bit hard for me to become connected with my project. considering the state it was in and things like that. And it wasn't like the best experience at first. And so it kind of had me question, like, what do I enjoy? Like, what do I want to do? And what do I like? But once I kind of delved into the project and gave it a chance, I was able to make my own pathway and organization on it and kind of like be in tune with my skills and heighten like the skills I currently have to suit the project. And it made me feel a lot better because it made me feel like a lot more control. I liked what I was doing. I liked the new initiative I created within my project, and I liked what I was communicating with our client and things like that. So being able to apply for these positions, I also just want to state that like it's okay if you shadow someone or you join something that you don't necessarily like or enjoy, but the whole process of Enactus, the whole process of shadowing is figuring it out and giving kind of new opportunities a chance. And you have a couple semesters to figure it out. You have a bunch of opportunities to kind of learn what you like. So I wouldn't like worry or shy away from any of that stuff, and take the opportunities that you can get and kind of like learn and utilize your skills. So yes, that's all I want to throw in there. If there's nothing else, we can move on to the next question. Okay, how did you guys prepare for the leadership process? For example, interviews, the applications, and things like that. If anyone wants to start this off.
Yeah, I can tell you how you should prepare. I would say definitely, you know, what we're looking for in terms of a leader is not somebody who's going to keep the status quo. We want somebody who has, you know, thought about everything and was like, I think this, and this not being done the best, and we can change it by going like this, right? We want somebody who's able to come in and, you know, think and be really critical and always seeking perfection and coming up with good ideas. So how I would go about that is, you know, I talk to different members, to different projects to figure out, okay, you know, what's are some problems that we're seeing across Enactus as a whole, and how can I bring that to a leadership position? You know, I never applied to a position that I didn't think I could give constructive criticism to, and then just really like sitting down and fleshing out an action plan and being really, you know, strategically focused as well as sustainable. Also, there are office hours that are going to be coming out for PMs and PL applications, where you can come in and get your application reviewed beforehand. So I would definitely do that if I was applying to leadership.
Yeah, I would, in addition to that, I would say I mostly kind of asked questions as well. Like you go to office hours and figure out, okay, what is like learn about the whatever it is that you're applying for, learn about that. And like Lydia said, prepare your questions or your whatever ideas you may have, how kind of figure out how you can add to that. How can you make this better? How can you improve it? Um, and like I just did some my own research, as you do typically for a leadership process, the whole interview application. And yeah, I just reached out to people that I already knew in Enactus and kind of took their advice. People who've been through it before, and that helped a lot too as well.
Also, I want to make a quick comment. I just want to emphasize the fact that constructive criticism is okay, if not like wanted, especially when applying to a leadership position, because Enactus always wants to kind of grow and adjust and be the best version of itself it can be, and that can only happen through changes and constructive criticism. And even with my current project, there was a lot of things I changed regarding organization and things that I wanted to pursue and kind of like pitch to the people I was working with. So don't be scared to ever bring stuff like that up when you are applying for positions, because it's definitely wanted and something that you should totally discuss.
And just to really quickly add on to that, another thing that you should really be considering when applying and when working towards your interview is to weigh out your own strengths and weaknesses. It's very easy to bombast yourself with what you know how to do and your previous leadership experiences and what you can bring to the table. But it's also crucially important to recognize where you might fall short, where you might need to develop some of your skills. And in doing so, you set yourself up for the perfect position to fit yourself in.
Very, very good point with that. If anyone has anything that they'd like to pitch in one last time, or I'll move on to the next question. Okay, I think we're good. That is the same question twice, I think. Did we not just ask this? Okay. How do you make yourself stand out against other leadership applicants? If anyone would like to take this out, question first. Lydia, do you have any good advice, considering you are DOP, for how to make yourself stand out against other leadership applicants?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to the way you've, participate throughout the year. We don't just look at one application. If we've seen you've been, attending, obviously you guys have been attending things if you're here, so that's great. And trying to be like actively involved in Enactus and, doing your deliverables on time, pitching ideas, trying to start new initiatives and taking initiative within your project. That definitely makes you stand out already. We already know your work ethic. Luckily, Enactus is small enough that, if you're applying to something, somebody who's interviewing probably knows how good of a worker you are already. And then, just that strategy is really what we look for, because we want to make sure that you're able to embody, what an Enactus project is, focusing on sustainability, making sure you're putting your members first, having that servant leadership. And I think as long as you're emphasizing that in your application, you're really good to go.
A common theme, everyone. Take all of the opportunities and chances that you can get to get involved, even if it's just reaching out to directors or PLs or PMs. It is a great experience. I've done it multiple times, and having a lack of experience means nothing. So don't be scared to reach out. And it's honestly the experiences you get are great, and they do give you an edge, especially when applying to leadership positions, because you've kind of seen what it's like on the other end, and you can get an idea of like their schedule and how it works for them. It'll help a lot when you apply, especially when you give ideas, and you can, like Matan said, highlight your strengths and weaknesses. So take all those opportunities. If anyone has anything else they'd like to add, feel free. If not, we can move on to our next segment of questions. All right, I'm going to pass this along to Kriti, who's going to be telling our work and time management questions.
So yeah, thank you for all of that. As Neha said, the next question's more about like time and management of your work and everything. So as a member of projects, committees, and like even just generally other organizations, how do you manage your school and social life? And being in an organization on top of that.
Yeah, so I can kind of speak on that. I'm in terms of my Rutgers career, I'm pretty involved on campus. I'm part of like roughly 4 or 5 other organizations in addition to Enactus. Obviously not all leadership positions, but like I have some leadership positions in the other organizations. And regarding, kind of time management, especially managing academics and also social life on top of extracurriculars, it's hard. But I think once you develop a schedule, once you develop, a kind of Google Calendar or some kind of bullet journal, or just taking that time to build in, sleep and food and, mental health breaks, especially over time, what seems like a really big picture kind of stress ends up becoming broken down into, okay, during this time slot, I will allot, this amount of time to do this task. And, if it's not a priority, then maybe we could, push it to another day. Regarding Enactus specifically, I think that the leaders are really good on, what's it called? Promoting that kind of transparency of saying like, hey, like if you are having stress, if you have exams, or if you are kind of becoming involved in, some other, things that are going on in your life, then please tell me, please let me know, because then we could find some alternative tasks or kind of make your workload easier depending on the week. I think that flexibility has really helped me, during times where, during the MIT process, I couldn't necessarily divulge as much time and attention, or if there's, certain tasks or responsibilities that like, I just know that I may be taking up too much time on, then I would tell them and they would give me something else that I could, still contribute, but also use less amount of my time and focus on the times that, I need more focus on my school or my social life.
All right, I guess I'll go on being a overachiever with like, I don't even know, like 19 credits, 2 jobs, and 3 orgs. So I think, as long, for me, I try to take things I like. So as long as you're really passionate about what you're doing, which hopefully you are and enact this, or else let me know and I'll be very sad and I'll try to fix it. It doesn't feel like work, but also like Paula said, making sure you're taking time for yourself. So if I'm working on something and I can see I'm getting frustrated, I'll go for like a 10-minute run and like kind of rewire myself, and then I'll be able to concentrate on something. Because honestly, trying to like concentrate on something when your mind has just given up is like not good. Sometimes just go to bed. You just need to go to bed. But also, when I'm doing something, it's hard to concentrate. So I'll put on a podcast or something to keep my mind busy. So I'm not like, ooh, Instagram needs me. So definitely do that. And Google Calendar is your best friend. What I do is I put all my activities in red. And then as I do homework and I study for the class, I change the color to green. So then I can see what I still have to prepare for in the week. So doing small things like that to organize is really good.
That's definitely a lot of great advice. You guys should be noting this down. I need to implement some of those things into my life. Going on what you guys has said, like a lot of these like tips and methods, you guys, this kind of relates to the next question, as in what methods do you use to manage your time? So I know, like you guys said, like using calendars or things like that. Do any of you guys have any other methods that you use?
Go ahead.
Sorry, you can go.
It would just be in addition to what everyone said, it's like finding a system that works for you, because like for some people they really like organization, they like the very typical clean organization, but some people like they have their own chaos in their organization. So whatever works for you and helps you get everything done on time, go and like find that, try different things. Sometimes you gotta like until you find your groove. For some people, in addition to like doing the time blocks, and Google Calendar is always great, you could also try out different project management websites, or programs like Notion, Monday.com, Trello. I currently use Notion. I kind of like it. It's fun, and it makes things not as intimidating. So yeah, things like that.
Okay. I use Google Sheets like an accountant. So let's say I want to study 10 hours for something. I'll turn on my stopwatch, and then as I'm studying actively, and then when I'm stopped studying actively, I'll turn it off, and then I'll record how much time I've it's assigned to that class or whatever. And then I'll try to hit a certain amount of hour levels. And that's how I know I'm being productive. Also, just like treat yourself. Like I'll be like, ooh, if I finish this, I'm gonna get a bubble tea. I'm gonna listen to a podcast, do a little Criminal Minds action, Spencer Reid. So yeah.
This is just a really quick insight, but for sometimes you get crunch time, and even if you have the most rigorous schedule and you're on the minute, things happen. Your dog starts barking and you lose focus, and suddenly you're off your allotted time by 5-10 minutes. There is a method that was developed in Italy called the Pomodoro method, and this has saved my butt on so many lengthy assignments and research papers that have kept me up at night. And essentially, it's breaking down your work into minute increments. So I think, yeah, sorry, Paulo. Somebody had to get to it first. You break it down by the hour. And I'm not sure if my math is right on this. I break it down 20, 20, 10. So 20 minutes, 10-minute break. And it makes the lengthy amounts of time that you're sitting and doing whatever breeze by, but you're also extremely efficient. So you don't get brain burn. You're also not, sitting too short that you're feeling angsty, like you're not doing enough. And it is just the perfect tool. And I found it out on a TED Talk, and I'm so glad that I implemented it. I'm so glad that I implemented it for past research assignments because it's saved my hiney. Another thing is that you always have to prioritize yourself first. You know, deadlines can be very daunting, and sometimes, like again, your schedule sometimes flops. But sometimes it's just not a good day. You have a headache and you might need to take a break. Take the break. It's much easier to function when you're feeling on top of your game, when you're feeling relaxed, you're not feeling overworked or tired, than it is if you're forcing yourself to follow a rigorous schedule, even if it is a very efficient schedule. It's one of the things that's helped me both with stress and also keeping myself on my top game whenever I have to do things. So I check out usually at around 10 p.m. at night. That's when I stop looking at screens all entirely so I can get myself ready for a good night's sleep. I have about an hour and a half in the morning before I, even open my laptop to check an email. So really employing yourself as number one is crucial to making sure that everything else runs smoothly too.
Oh, you can go.
Sorry about that. I think Matan hit on some really good points that I could even look at trying to do. I've even started looking at articles now a little bit, but I think it's almost like, I think with how Zoom is used, and I think with most of our classes where like teachers record your lectures, I think it's really important to do a couple of things. Either at least once a day, listen to the lecture again after the class is over, or going through the lecture before the class starts. I think is something that I haven't done in previous semesters that I'm starting to do now, that I feel like this semester I feel way more prepared for exams now than I have in previous semesters. And I think that's really helped me work on the project as well. Because when you have exams, especially if you don't structure your studying right, you're going to like really find yourself unbalanced when it comes to working on certain aspects of the project. So it would always be like a deadline that you won't be able to make because it's between your project or your grade. And then like with certain grad schools that you may be potentially looking at, you need a good GPA and stuff like that. So I think it's really focusing on like school first, because that will leave yourself time for your project. And I think that's helped me for this semester in particular. And I think it's helped me organize everything that I need to do for my project.
I just like to make a few quick additions because I mean you guys covered most of what I wanted to say, but it's really like it depends on you kind of taking time to understand what works for you, right? Because I'm somebody that still uses a paper planner. I know it's very like 100 years ago, but I still do it because it's what works for me. But I also use like the Google Calendar and everything because I am always on my phone. So I think like having that like multiple sources of accountability can help. And also like if you like to-do lists, just like the satisfaction of crossing like things off really helps. And also something I do because like I have a trash attention span. Even like I keep looking around. So, it's difficult to focus, especially, when you're at home, rather than, actually being in class. So something I do is I change up my workspace. So if that's something you can do, I already moved 2 different places during this call. If that's something you can do, just like change, even if it's one workspace, like keep changing things about it, change up your room. If there's something that would make it, a happier place for you, any small things like that, I think would make a really big difference. Just like personalize everything for yourself.
Thank you guys for all of that advice. I definitely agree, like trying out different methods and personalizing them and seeing what kind of suits you is the best way to go. I will now hand it off to Neha, who will talk a bit, ask you guys more questions regarding like member relations?
All right. Question for member relations. What methods do you guys use to get close with other members within Enactus? Is our first question. If anyone wants to take this off first.
I can take it. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite question ever. I try to go to all events as like as many as possible just to get close with other members. And then and like some of my favorite memories are from these events. And that's where I've gotten close to people like Prithvi. I met Prithvi early on in like when I was in Nactus, and we also had some classes together and stuff, I think, at one point. But I'm close to Prithvi and like a bunch of people. But like things like going to the run, then we have this marathon thing that we do in the spring, like new, oh my god, me screaming Noom, this energy drink thing. It's like forever etched in my brain, and the people who were there also, like that's how they know me. They're like, oh, the Noom girl, because I was like losing my mind. But it's really fun, and people get to see a different side of you, you know, like the outside of work. And it's a great way to like, get to know people. And like we said, like there's always like things like besides events, there's like workshops, and obviously like we've been talking about just getting yourself out there, you know, trying out for different things, committees, projects, all these things, talking to people, just reaching out. If you see somebody who has like a similar interest as you in the group chat or something, just go and reach out to them. Like usually the people who join Enactus, they're always like the type of people to be inviting and welcoming, and they're just so warm and cool. And yeah, so I basically just try to go to everything I can. And yeah, and just, you know, try to get involved.
Really quickly, it's it's joining Enactus can be very daunting. I mean, the fact that we have over 150 members this semester, and especially when you're virtual, it can seem like you're in a crowd of faces or black screens more accurately. And one of the first methods that I applied to get myself ingrained, you know, with Enactus and to really feel like I was catching the Enactus vibe was to make the big ocean of Enactus into a small pond, to narrow it down to people who share common interests, people you know, who are linked by initiative, by interests, by passions, you know, anything. And in that way, building your own network of peers within Enactus that you can get close to beyond just, you know, your Monday 9:45 meetings. And the same applies for within the project. With all of my general members, we spend a significant portion of the meeting just chatting about anything. Does not have to be project related, but just to be able to get to know each other on a much more personal level really solidifies the bonds that are extremely important when we're all remote and not seeing each other's faces. And so, you know, using that strategy to close in the big world a little bit, by actively looking out for, you know, for like-minded people, making the effort to build those bonds really helps when you're trying to get close in Enactus.
Yeah, I would also say the chat is on fire during GMs. You guys should be paying attention though, learning about all the good things. But definitely, I did not know about this Insta meme chat, so that's definitely a good way to connect with people. And we have a Discord. I know Among Us is dead, but maybe you could bring it back to life with a fun game, or bring back Among Us. I got too good at it, but maybe if we could spice it up a bit.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anyone have any last minute things they want to say, or I'll move on to the next question. Okay, next question. Have you met anyone close in Enactus, and how did you meet them?
Yeah, okay, I can take this up. I don't know if anyone ever pays attention to Sana and I just being so sarcastic at each other, but I don't know how it happened. But Sana is just, woo, she is so amazing. And yet I love just us being like hurling literally insults at each other during GM. And yeah, she was like part of our CAAS, and then I joined our CAAS, and then she joined the membership development committee, and then I followed her because I'm weird. But oh, how did I meet them? Oh, I already answered that. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about Sona for a second. Get that on recording. Sona,
Okay.
if you're watching this recording, you owe me money.
Okay, I have a good story. Okay, so I was at my first MIT meeting and I saw Tanvi and she was trying to ignore her roommate who had also come. So we sat next to each other and bonded. So, you know, mutual hate for people can draw you to other people. Um, but also I would just like one time I walked into the wrong room and asked if this was a finance meeting and it was a marketing meeting, and that's how I got to know all the upperclassmen. So don't be afraid to mess up and become the girl who's like, oh, you're the girl who accidentally walked into the wrong room, because that's how I was known for my freshman year. Just put yourself out there, and even if it's embarrassing, people will know you as the girl who walked into the wrong room.
Pete Perea, who's in this call as we speak, we have spent so many Monday nights at like midnight talking about Mitsuha and Japanese food and tea and alcoholic beverages and all the cool stuff that she does at work. So if, you know, literally the definition of somebody close that I've met in Actus, we have the most fun discussions. My belly works every time. It doesn't matter what I ate. Like we just talk food. That's our lingo. That's our lingo. So it's always spicy, it's always good, and we can keep going for like hours without stopping. And this, you know, the same follows for Diana as well, but Rhea and I have a really tight bond centered around all the good stuff that we eat. So we spent lots and lots of time talking about it.
Okay, very nice. Very great questions. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to throw in there? Or if not, I'm going to move on and pass it along to Krithvi, who's going to focus on differences in role. Because I know some people can get a little bit confused on the differences between a PL and a PM and all those positions. So we'll be going over that for everyone.
Okay, first of all, love those stories, literally laughing the entire time. But okay, our first question is, what is the difference between a PM and a PL?
I can hop in. As a PM, you know, there's the textbook definition, and then there's what you make of it. As a PM, you technically are the one that oversees the entire operation. You kind of, you know, you make sure that everything is functioning right, that all the gears are working where they should be. You know, making sure that your committees all have the right amount of members and deliverables are going well. You essentially serve as, you know, the head monitor of the entire operation. Not necessarily the big honcho, but you're kind of there to overview, make sure that everything's all right, and keep, you know, keep the train on track. In Project Appalachia, there is a very thin line between PM and PL. Diana, Rhea, and I work very closely together. We mutually make all the big decisions that the project faces if we're not consulting general members that are, you know, Project Appalachia's general members. And in Project Appalachia, the PL really serves to be the head of the committee. So we have an internal and an external committee, internal dealing with everything, building the foundations of the project, the research, the grant applications, you know, everything that we need to have a firm base, and external being the outreach, the competitions, the sending emails to connections and, you know, potential mentors and whatnot, and being the face of the project. So they all have their respective you know, their respective positions, but all together we really work cohesively to make sure everything is streamlined and everything, you know, and everybody runs the show. By definition, the PL is like I said, the head of the committee, and makes sure that, you know, whatever goals and ambitions that committee has are eventually fulfilled. They also spearhead that committee's general members, so they apply that direction. They work through deliverables and keep that specific area of the project or the initiative on course.
I mean, y'all answered the question for me. But I would say also the PM is kind of, if you're a PM, you're going to be doing a lot of meetings with all your partners and clients, which PLs might not necessarily do. I think also I was a PL and I thought I had the cooler job because I got to really work on developing members while, PM is kind of, overseeing everybody and may not necessarily be doing the one-on-one work. But Matan, should take my job and apply for DOP. So
I love how she just plugged it in there just like so smoothly. Lydia, the classic Lydia.
You should see our private DMs right now.
I slide into all DMs for DOP. I'm recruiting. Let me know if you want to be DOP.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to everything that everyone said, that there's always a kind of like, in terms of maybe looking from the perspective of a general member, then like if your PL, well, if you're in a certain committee, you'll be obviously going to them for more direct questions about your deliverables, or to see how your committee is running specifically, because they have more, I guess, they'll have more detailed information probably because they're the ones kind of planning it for their committees. And PM is more overall. So that's kind of one thing I would say is the difference, or especially from the perspective of a GM member. GM, general member.
Thank you for that, guys. Oh wait, Lydia, did you want to say one last thing?
Just the one letter difference that Paulo stole from me.
Okay. Okay, so our next question is, what is the difference between R&D leadership and project leadership? Because I don't know if you guys might know this, but R&D just recently, I'm gonna let Lydia talk on this.
As former, I think this question was written for me since I used to be the director of R&D. But right, R&D leadership leads an R&D project. So you're not necessarily a full project yet, but you kind of advanced enough that, maybe it makes more sense to separate it in subcommittees, or to just kind of separate the research in different ways. Maybe you have different research topics, and it's like the research has become extensive enough that you need some type of, leadership structure to just keep people accountable. So that would be R&D leadership. So you're still kind of reaching out to the director of R&D, so you're not completely independent and like, I can do whatever I want, because you still have an R&D process to finish to develop your project. While a project leader, you're on your own, you've graduated, mama R&D probably misses you. And right now you're running the show yourself, and you have subcommittees, you have a PM, and maybe you have less support, except for me, who comes sliding in with the when to meets. But yeah, I think that's essentially the difference, is just the work you end up doing as a leader and as an R&D lead.
Thank you for that. Tola, I kind of just wanted to ask you, because you are kind of like in a leadership position in your R&D education initiative. And so just wanted to ask you kind of how it is for you as kind of like in this leadership position, but not like formally in R&D.
It's interesting. I think it's about patience for a lot of things, because you want to move at 100 miles per hour when when you're in R&D. You want to go straight into being a project, and it takes like really like taking time to be patient with how you're looking at your project, because there are some things that I think when you're a project, you want to be able to answer questions before they're asked in a way where you would always be prepared for people looking at maybe the cons of what you're doing. So I think it's about really understanding all the aspects of your project in a 360 manner, because there's so many different obstacles and barriers to what you're trying to do. So you really have to take time to do all the research in terms of, is what you're doing replicated already? Is what you're doing sustainable? Is there growth in a specific market for it? So I think it's definitely different. I think R&D leadership, I think a key trait is patience, like I've mentioned, and then project leadership, you're really focused more on the sustainability aspects of um, it. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing with us, Tolu. I just realized I was on mute and I was speaking, and then I'm like, oh, wait. Um, does anyone want to talk last minute on this, or next we would move on to the Q&A portion? No? Okay, I will hand it off to Neha, who will be leading the Q&A portion. I think we'll be doing this for like around 10 to 15 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Ooh, I have a question that is about leadership, but not necessarily to leaders.
Of course.
What do you guys think, as general members, that leadership should be doing better or that could be implemented? Wow, apparently we're so perfect.
Doing her job.
Oh, sorry if I interrupted somebody.
No, go ahead, Tolu. Go.
I would say, I guess you can kind of conduct reviews. Like I tried to do this last semester with members in my project of like kind of doing like an anonymous survey of how the project is going. So I would ask them specific questions about the project, of how they see the project going, what they feel about the project, what they feel about me. And then I made it anonymous so that they don't feel like, oh, okay, he's going to think bad of me. So it's kind of trying to give your members a platform to share their frustrations or what they like about the project in a way that's beneficial to you, and then not taking it to heart and understand it's about constructive criticism and edifying, the aspects of your project.
To quick, Lydia, if you'd like to.
No, yeah, no, I was just gonna say
I
that's
was
good
gonna say,
advice.
quickly jump off what Tilly was saying. I've had a similar experience in my project before. I think constructive criticism is very important. So what I have done is I've done kind of like member check-ins and things like that, where I've asked people for like how they feel, what could be worked on, how they feel as me as a leader, and things like that. And I've also made it anonymous, and I find it to be very effective. Especially if like the people who are giving the feedback like take it seriously and actually want to provide criticism and help out and stuff like that. And I think if you reiterate that and they fill out these like forms, it's really really helpful, because you kind of like get a feel for how everyone feels in like their position with their responsibilities, and if they need help and things like that, and things they'd want us to cover. So I definitely agree, it's a really great way to kind of get closer with your members and become a better leader yourself.
We have 4 questions. So I guess we'll kind of just go in the order of the questions arrived. So the first question is, what's one regret you have about your Enactus experience, and how do you plan to change that going forward?
Guys, I'm just saying, I have no regrets because I took all the opportunities I could, and I have a lots of experience. So, another tip, you join as many events as you can and all the committees you like, because you're going to love it all and it'll all be amazing and you won't have any regrets.
Ooh, okay. I would say I didn't go to as many socials and kind of fun events. Like for me, it was like work, 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 work. Like I think as an upperclassman, now that I'm not like a crazy undergrad, I mean, no, I'm still undergrad, a crazy underclassman who's like my life's coming to an end and I'm unemployable. I do that, but I would definitely start that young, go out, try to make friends, bond, make an Enactus squad up together. So yeah.
A little plug to the membership development committee, Kathy, Paul, looking at you guys. We take a lot of time to plan these events very like well in order to get people more engaged, and they're honestly a lot of fun. We had a cool chill breakdown one during the Christmas time. We did origami, and I didn't mention this before, but I might as well mention it now. I actually made a friend through the leadership panel. We had to do like a role play with like the Kardashians, and then she ended up being in my breakout room at one of the socials. Yeah, shout out to Lydia for that. That was a really good role play. It was funny. And now like I figured we were in the same stats class and we're super close, and I've made friends through her, and it was like it's an awesome experience. I love her to death. She's great. So yeah, I did just want to quickly mention that. And the events are honestly, they were a lot of fun, and we put in the effort for it. And I hope that you guys will all take the time to attend at least a few of them. Another plug, Valentine's Day event is coming up. So RSVP for that. Check general for the link. Let us know if you need it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're making cookies and mocktails.
Love you guys for plugging all the events. And I think we'll move on to the next question is, what is your favorite Enactus memory?
That is a tough question, especially considering, that we've all, for the most part, spent a lot of our Enactus experiences stuck at home. But in all honesty, my favorite Enactus memory had to be the day where the ice was broken between, the Project Appalachia team members. When you start a project in the middle of a pandemic and you're with a team that, some of the members you've met for 3 times in person prior, and some of the members you haven't met in person at all, the social bonding can be a little difficult. You don't quite get, the personal cues and what to say, what not to say when you're speaking in front of a camera. It's different, it's definitely not the same. And I remember for the first few meetings when we went virtual, it was like I was speaking to, like a crowd of people who didn't speak my language, just because I couldn't quite grasp how to set a vibe where it was not just, a meeting on Zoom, but more like we're working towards something, and we're also hanging out and making sure that we feel, comfortable and laid back at the same time. So it was very tense. It was also very, very awkward. I'd like stumble with the words to say. And then one day towards the end of the semester, I told myself, I'm just not going to speak like I usually do. I'm just going to stop, and we're just going to talk about whatever. And the day that happened, the ice just broke. We all started finding things in common, and suddenly it was like, okay, the awkwardness is behind us, and it never came back. And it was such a relieving moment. So if you've ever had the post Zoom relief where you finally realize that you can create bridges online, you know what I'm talking about.
I love that so much. I definitely had a similar experience when it was like with my committee. It was just like when we really started to get to know each other and just like asking those questions, and like it was great. Does anyone want to talk about their favorite Enactus memory?
Mine was applying to DOP and becoming director of projects. But no, I think definitely the social events are always great job, Critby, for all of those. We used to have a bonfire, which used to be a lot of fun. And a banquet, that's going to be my favorite Enactus memory because I owned the sprinting challenge. But just going to the social events and owning the sprinting challenge or anything of the competitive things, that's mine. Like winning the scavenger hunt and making all the new MITs run to catch a bus. So.
You guys, Lydia is just hardcore with everything. She's really fun, hardcore fun. I know, Nidhi, you also wanted to speak.
I think I was going to say the same thing as Lydia, but like the social events are always kind of, I can't never pick one thing because I'm just too indecisive. But I'll also tell you like one of the favorite memories is like probably social events, because that's where I kind of, became friends with the different people that I'm friends with now. And oh my god, like the what is it called? We always for some reason it always felt like we were gonna die at one of those like bonfire things, and just like the bonding of that kind of event just really solidified our like our relationships, and that was really great. And it always gives me a great story to tell people like afterwards, because I brought one of my friends one time, like a non-Enactus member, and she for real thought that I was about to get kidnapped, and she started crying because of just like the people who were like hosting it. I don't know why, but she found them to be really scary with their like demon like dogs. But see what I'm saying now? Like, it was a great experience. And it was always just like the most interesting things would happen at these events. And yeah, I think like those are probably some of my favorite memories.
I definitely do love the bonfires.
They
So
were cute, Ria. The dogs were cute, but just a little bit on crack. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
okay, our next question is, as someone who joined last semester, it seems a little daunting to take up a position of leadership when I've never worked on a project in person before. Do you have any tips?
It is not daunting. You don't go in without training. Like during the whole summer, we train you, we get you ready, we make sure that you feel okay. I've known people who joined this like spring semester and have gotten a leadership position and have been doing really great. So the thing is, you're gonna get a good support structure. Right, I'm sure all the other PLs and PMs can speak more to that, but you're not at it alone.
Yeah, I want to add on to that because that's like exactly what my situation was. Like I haven't had much I mean I did have a little bit of leadership experience, but that was like color guard. So it wasn't necessarily like a project and stuff like that. So I haven't had any like project experience prior to Enactus, and I came in and I get that it seems a little bit intimidating. I totally get where you're coming from. When I first got the PL position for RCAS, I was very, very nervous that I wouldn't be able to fulfill what needed to be done, it's normal to feel that way, but quickly you learn that the people around you that you're working with offer as a great support system to give the best transition possible into your leadership role. Luckily, I had Lydia on my side to help me through my transition into RCAS. So I think I kind of lucked out with that one. She definitely helped a lot. And I did question like, oh, could I do this? Because it is very daunting at first, but if you believe in yourself and your skills and you kind of take the extra step despite like fear of not being able to do it or being rejected, taking the extra step to apply and getting the position is half of the job already. And it's more so you kind of honing in on your skills and adjusting to the position that you work on. And everything is a process, everything is a transition, and you're not in it alone. So it's okay to feel like it's a little like tough, but if you take the step, you apply and you get that position, you have all the resources that you need, and you gotta really believe in your skills. And the more like the longer you are a PL, honestly, the better you get at your position and what you're doing. When I was first PL, in the project that I was in and that I'm in currently, it was kind of confusing. I wasn't sure what I was doing. I was reaching out to Lydia a lot. I was reaching out to Rithvik a lot. I had a lot of questions, but I got the hang of it. And now I have biweekly meetings organized. I have my meeting minutes organized. I have my schedule organized, and I'm really on top of due lines and dates. And it's really nice because you realize, although an experience might seem confusing and daunting at first, once you kind of jump into it and hone in on your skills, it gets a lot easier, especially utilizing the people around you. So don't be too nervous to whoever asked this. If you're interested in a leadership position, apply. Because like I said before, a lack of experience honestly is not a good enough reason in my eyes to not take that extra step to apply something, especially when you have like a great support system that Enactus offers. And if you're interested in it, just go for it. And you could always reach out to Lydia again or me separately. Like you reach out to anyone separately. Like we're always going to be here for advice.
Yes, Neha, preach. Does anyone else want to talk about that, or I'll move on to the next Q&A question? No? Okay. So our last Q&A question is, what's the most impactful lesson you've learned from your Enactus involvement?
I can go. I would say perseverance. I kind of wanted to create an education project last fall in 2019, but I had members that didn't come to like the meeting, so it was only just me and R&D just sitting around and working on different things. So it was definitely like a frustrating part of not having members at all. It was literally just me like working on an initiative. But I think that actually helped me in a way because like it made me think about the project in a different light, and it helped me like work throughout the summer to think about the project in more detail. And then in the fall semester of this year, I got all MIT members, and they've like done a great job in like doing the deliverables and things like that. So I think with like any project, like it's difficult to like maybe get everyone to have the same passion as you, especially if like you created the initiative. But if you just like stick around and just understand, you know, where other people come from in looking at the project, and then understanding that, you know, roadblocks aren't necessarily something you're doing wrong. It's to kind of like teach you a lesson. It can help you like go farther and farther in your project. And I think um, you know, the passion that you have behind it will help drive you past any obstacles. So that's what I think.
Thank you,
I
To.
I want to quickly add on to what Tolu was saying because I've had problems in the past with like communication and things, and it's something that I struggle with sometimes with my project. So I get that it can be hard, but I think a really big factor of what I've learned in Actus is kind of being able to be adaptive and being open-minded to like the opportunities around you and to the situation that you're in, because the reality is sometimes especially if you're in a client project or you're working with other people that you've never worked with before, that you're not close with yet, you do have to adapt to kind of their personalities, how they send things in, like the questions that they have, their skills. And it could definitely be hard and it could definitely be complicated at first, but being able to take that extra step to get to know your committee members more, to be open-minded to their views, their constructive criticisms, and kind of what the type of like member they are generally really helps increase your productivity and kind of like better your skills as like a PL or a PM in my situation at least, because it's definitely helped me learn more about community engagement and membership engagement and things like that. So being open-minded and being adaptive to your situation is really, really important because it's okay to face those roadblocks. It's okay to have them, but the whole point is you want to conquer past them and persevere past them. And in doing so and in trying, you gain a lot of useful skills. So it's really important to like take them head on and not be too daunted or intimidated by it.
Yes, definitely agree with these lessons. Okay. I just wanted to say this is the end of the panel. I wanted to thank all the panelists, and it was really great hearing all your advice and just like getting all tips and methods from you guys. It was just really amazing. And I wanted to thank all the people who submitted questions and just like, hopefully this has helped you. Okay.
Me as well. I just want to say thank you so much. Me and Kirby worked on this for a little bit, and it was something that I really wanted to do for general members because I thought it would help out a lot and give a lot of really good advice. And so thank you for everyone that came out to the event. It means a lot to me. And Kirby, obviously.
Thank you, everybody.